before he was assassinated in the early 1960s, then Prime Minister of the DRC, Patrice Lumumba, said in a letter to his wife, "To my children whom I may never see again, I would like this message to be passed on, that the future of the Congo is beautiful, and that it is expected of them to join the other Congolese to protect the sovereignty and the independence of their country." To say something like that in 1961, when you are in jail, you have been abused, you have been tortured, and still have the guts to say no cruelty, no torture, will make me beg for mercy, for I prefer to die with my head held high than to live in subjugation of sacred principles. Take some character. And here I am in 2014, and the DRC is not still thought as a country with a beautiful future. Unless, of course, you are lucky, like I have been, to figure out or to understand that Africa is open for business. Africa is open for business sounds like a tagline, sounds like a slogan, sounds like a populist statement that people make. But what does that mean? The world every day is learning that even when you compare Africa to China or to Asia or to South America or other emerging markets, it offers the longest upside. A study was done by the Boston Consulting Group in 2009, 2010. They compared 40 multinationals that are listed or operating in Africa, and they compared them to the Nikkei index, to the CAC, to the DAX in Germany, to the S&P 500, and they found that over a period of 8 years, these 40 African multinationals outperformed all those indices on sales growth. And of course, accountants will say, if you outperform on sales growth, how about profit? Because revenue is vanity. They outperformed them on profitability. And they said, what about compound annual growth rate? They found that those 40 multinationals also outperformed all those indices on the compound annual growth rate over a period of 8 years. And we are talking 10 in the developed markets, 25% growth or so in the developing markets, Africa in specific terms. So if we agree that Africa is open for business, the question is, as an investor, as a business person, as a young person, as a citizen of the world, is there a place for you to get it right? Is there a place for you to take advantage of this opportunity that Africa offers? 54 states, the widest array of minerals, the longest coastline, the best climate, if you're talking temperate climate, the best diversity in the world, and only 15% of the world population in a continent that occupies 20% of the land surface of Earth. Do you have what it takes to take advantage of this? Because although Africa used to be called the dark continent, there are still many people who haven't figured out how to make it the opposite of that. We all agree it's the place to go if you want to do a business, if you want to get the best returns, if you want to get the best hospitality. But do we have what it takes as investors? I'm going to try and talk about what I think it takes. And I'll share my story with you and some of the anecdotes, the things I've seen on the continent in about 25 countries to prove that Africa is open for business and life is possible for a business person on this continent of ours. But the only thing that's not changing is change itself. So what do you have to do to get it right on the African continent? 3 things that need to change. Number 1 is how you look at Africa, where you view it from. What do I mean by that? From New York, from London, from Turkey, from Russia, Africa looks way different. Because often from those places I've mentioned and many others that are not on the African continent, it will look like Ebola, it will look like Boko Haram, it will look like Al-Shabaab, And I'm not joking that even in countries that have Ebola, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea, most affected, there is business going on. There are major investments moving in. In the country that you associate with Boko Haram, Nigeria, in the same year that Nigeria was battling Boko Haram, it became the largest African economy. It attracted billions of dollars into the power sector. It attracted billions of dollars into the financial sector. It registered 15 banks in the top 1,000 banks of the world, according to the banker. In the same country that you associate with Al-Shabaab, Kenya, there are more American visitors than ever because that country has made itself the ICT hub of the world. So we need to change where we view Africa from. Because from our living rooms in New York, it might look like Ebola and Al-Shabaab and Boko Haram. From the streets of Dar es Salaam and Juba and Addis Ababa, it looks like a booming economy. But you have to be there to see it. Number two, the way we think of the African continent. I said it used to be called the dark continent. It's amazing how when Africa suffers a minor setback, and I'm saying minor setback although thousands of people are dying from this Ebola, we don't see the opportunity in it. So I'm going to try and share with you some of the examples of people who saw in a crisis or who saw in backlog an opportunity to invest, and they were rewarded much quicker than they thought. Number three, we have to change the way we behave when we are in Africa. Change the way we behave. So let's start and share some of the things that I've seen. Changing the way you look at Africa by changing where you stand. If I got onto the roof of this building right now, you would look different in the audience. Soweto would look different. I would feel a little dizzy because I'm afraid of heights. But my world will be different simply by elevating a few meters. Now, what more if you fly 4 hours to Addis Ababa, or fly 4 hours to Kinshasa, or to Lubumbashi? You will then understand what a property market boom is. You'll drive for 15, 20 minutes at 10 kilometers an hour, and you will not run out of new buildings that are going up. And I'm talking multi-story buildings with retail establishments in the basement. But you can't see them from New York because when they talk about Ethiopia, they might be talking about coffee. They might be talking about the dance. They might be talking about some odd wine that won a prize in France. Yes, there's an Ethiopian wine that won a prize in France. But you won't know about it if you don't go to your Abyssinia and dine there. So by looking at Africa from Africa, you suddenly learn to understand what makes Nigerians tick. And the more you interact with Nigerians in Nigeria, I emphasize, you will learn to understand that Nigeria deserves a lot more respect than you give it. Because you will meet the most entrepreneurial people you'll ever come across. You'll land at the airport, 8 of them will be charging at you, offering to take you to your hotel. You'll say, no, I'm waiting for my mate. They'll say, I'm your mate. I'm taking you to your hotel. They're not trying to hijack you. They understand that in a country of 150 million people, you are not going to wait for an opportunity to come to you. You go out and grab it. You get up at 5 in the morning to go for a run like I normally do when I travel. You meet Nigerians, Lagosians out there hustling before sunrise. And they will still be hustling at sunset. And with the traffic jam sometimes that you find in Lagos, you don't look at a Nigerian in the eye. They're going to sell you something. But you will respect that when you hear of a 419 scam from elsewhere, you're not talking about Nigerians in Nigeria. You'll meet the best bankers. You'll meet Stan Ecker, who will teach you how to make an iPad. Yes, Xerox Electronics makes a Nigerian iPad. But you've got to be able to be there to appreciate. The Slok Group, look it up, SLOK. You'll find that they are making their own smartphones even as we speak. These are Nigerians, real Nigerians in Nigeria. Not the ones you might have seen elsewhere doing some untoward stuff. Even if they were 20 million untoward or sinister or evil Nigeria, there would still be more than 120 good ones in Nigeria. So go to Nigeria, meet them. Go to Addis Ababa, meet Ethiopians. You'll find they are not emaciated. There are more than 80 million people of them. The city is much cooler than you think, and there's the highest rainfall figures on the continent. And you'll get to respect coffee when you have it with the Ethiopians, because they serve it like you've never seen it. They make a big festival out of it. They call it a coffee ceremony. So when you are in Addis, you will understand coffee. When you are in Uganda, in Kampala, and you see the origin in Jinja of the River Nile, or you will understand exactly what makes Africa tick. That's the best way to take advantage of the opportunities. Go into Africa. Of course, if you can't travel, you can still read newspapers. Don't read about Ethiopia from New York Times. Read about it from the Addis Fortune. Don't read about Nigeria from The Guardian. Read about it from the Vanguard, from This Day, from Premium Times. Don't read about Botswana read about it from The Reporter. Don't read about Namibia from any other newspaper than the Namibian, The Economist, The New Era. Don't read about Zimbabwe from read the Financial Gazette. When you do that, you start understanding the world of Africans from their viewpoint. Number two, changing the way we think of the continent. Backlog is opportunity. It's not a crisis. And Vodafone, a British company, figured this out when they got to Kenya, and they found that there was not much banking to talk of, and they used their technology from Britain to develop M-Pesa. And mobile money, which is what M-Pesa means, mobile pesa, pesa is money in Kiswahili, has become an export of Kenya. It has been exported to South Africa, it has been exported to Romania, it's been exported to India, it's been exported to the rest of the continent. It has given rise to many other things like Empower, like Pesapata. So you can buy airline tickets now, you can buy your insurance, you can even do lending using a mobile phone. So from the time when Kenya didn't have any banking to speak of to where they are now offering the world-class solution in mobile payment solutions, so much so that they even outranked South Africa 4 to 25 on the mobile payment readiness index by the MasterCard. Change the way you think of a continent. When you see a crisis, think of it as an opportunity. Number three, changing the way we behave. We like to dominate. We like to be superstars. We ask who's made the cover of a magazine. But there are ways of behaving on the continent that asks you to first be a visitor. Visitors wait for an invitation. Visitors ask questions to understand. Visitors wait to be guided. They don't walk in and say, listen up, everybody, this is how we're going to do things now. Because most Africans won't react, they'll just keep quiet and look at you. You'll finish your rambling, and when you go, they'll go back to doing what they were doing anyway. If you ask the people of Rwanda about democracy, they will say, no, we are not a democracy. We are an economy that works. And you ask them about media freedom, they'll say, we had media freedom. It gave us the 10 commandments of the Hutu, which gave us the genocide. So we don't care much for media freedom, thank you very much. We care for an economy that works. We care for an economy that grows. That was ranked 160 or so in 2006, 2007, and is now ranked under 50, according to the World Ease of Doing Business report, World Bank Ease of Doing Business report. So you have to be able to change the way you look at Africa by moving into the continent a lot more. You won't get Ebola, I promise you. You won't get malaria. I've been to 25 African countries. I still don't know the taste of malaria tablets. I don't know what they look like. Why? Do I have a death wish? No. I just know that when they talk about a high-risk malaria area, that's all it is. It's somebody who's ranking countries. You run the risk of getting malaria. Yeah, you run the risk of getting shot in New York or in London, I'm sure. Do we stop going to London? No, we go to London nonetheless. We run the risk of getting mugged in Johannesburg. Do we stay in our houses and not move out? No. So why does a report that Uganda is a malaria risk area, why should it stop you from catching that flight to Kampala or to Entebbe, to be exact? So let's change the way we look at Africa by changing where we look at it from. Let's change the way we think of it by understanding that a backlog is actually an opportunity. When you drive in a city of Africa, you find that the roads are smaller than the cars, because in Africa we do love our big cars. We don't love them for nothing. We love them because we drive around roads that are not very friendly. You look at that small road as an opportunity to bring infrastructure investment, as the Chinese are figuring out, which is the last thing I would like to say, by the way. Instead of hating the Chinese and saying they are colonizing Africa, let's learn about how they do it. They do a simple thing in relationships. You start your relationship by giving, not by taking. If you have 1.6 billion children in China who need minerals, resources, and you said, well, I heard about a country that's willing to give me some mining rights if I build a road, I upgraded the port, or I built a school. Would you not do it? I would do it. So instead of berating the Chinese for colonizing the continent, let's learn to build relationships on the African continent by giving. And when you give, when you share, when you collaborate, when you listen and you're willing to learn more than educate, you'll learn a lot more and you achieve a great deal more, as many investors have found out on the continent. So maybe Patrice Lumumba was not quite sure of what he was saying when he said, in the dark days of the Congo, the future of the Congo is beautiful. But in 2014, it's up to you and I to educate ourselves and find those bright sparks, find the silver lining in the African story. And believe me, you won't be hallucinating when you hear the story. You'll be hearing the real story of Africa. You'll be hearing Africa talking. I hope to see you in Addis.